Hey, welcome to Let's Grow Together with Kalyan, Shruti and Richa. ये पॉडकास्ट सीरीज बनाया ही गया है टू लर्न फ्रॉम द इंडस्ट्री एक्सपर्ट्स. ये ट्विटर स्पेस सीरीज को पॉडकास्ट में कन्वर्ट किया गया है सो एवरीथिंग इज रॉ एंड अनफिल्टर्ड. You will hear the audience asking questions to the guest as well. कि ये podcast series is going to be super insightful. So come with an open mind and I promise you बहुत कुछ सीखने मिलेगा. So let's start the podcast in 3, 2, 1. It is Let's Grow Together episode 10 and we have Deepma Jadeja with us. She's a co-founder of Confident Communicator. She is also a soft skills trainer, communications coach and also a life coach. So that's a lot, ma'am, to be honest. And
You're aging me now, Kalyan, because I've lived such a long time. I've done all these things.
great, but what is that you love the most? What is one of the things that you love the most out of all the things that I've
Ah,
described about you?
what a great question to start with. But before we start, I just want to congratulate you guys on on this amazing podcast. I've been listening after you connected with me. I've been listening to some of your other spaces and podcasts, and the name struck me. Let's grow together. What a beautiful name of for a podcast. And I was wondering why. Why is it striking me? Why am I feeling so positive when I'm reading this name? And I realized ki, I think what it is, let's grow together, evokes that sentiment of collaboration, right? साथ में बढ़ते हैं, साथ चलते हैं, instead of that destructive feeling of competition that we seem to have grown up with. And so that's the reason why it's giving me such a positive vibe. And so I wanted to congratulate you and start with that right in the beginning.
थैंक यू सो मच मैम. एंड ये हमारा 10th एपिसोड है. हमने जब स्टार्ट किया था वी वर नॉट श्योर कि लोग हमें ज्वाइन करना चाहेंगे कि नहीं चाहेंगे, बट वी स्टार्टेड एंड इट्स जस्ट द 10th एपिसोड. इट्स वेरी अमेजिंग टू बी ऑनेस्ट. हम हमें ये नहीं पता था.
Yeah.
We found amazing speakers, like we spoke about finance, we spoke about mental health, we spoke about yoga, and a lot of topics, and this one in particular is a very different topic from the topics that we have taken so far. It's a very different topic, and I'm very excited about this. Even Richa and Shruti, very, very excited about this
Actually,
one.
yeah,
Yeah.
actually, very true. And to be honest, Deepma, it was most anticipated podcast, this space for us because of the
Okay, stop
topic.
scaring
And
me, okay? Just stop scaring me now. I hope I can deliver.
Yes, you are confident you will surely deliver. And I am really excited personally for this particular conversation
we
with you
all
guys.
are, we all are.
मैम,
Nice.
आफ्टर ऑल आप तो को फाउंडर हो कॉन्फिडेंट कम्युनिकेटर की, तो यू हैव टू बी
Definitely.
कॉन्फिडेंट. बट
Absolutely. Actually, let me tell you a little bit about our journey. आपने पूछा कि क्या है जो आपको बहुत फेवरेट है, आपका फेवरेट पार्ट ऑफ
Right, right. So
दिस जर्नी है.
next question यही था हमारा आपसे आपकी जर्नी के बारे में.
Okay, okay. So I think I'll combine दोनों questions में
Yeah,
combine कर लेती
please.
हूँ.
हाँ जी.
So basically, the Confident Communicator, I co-founded with a very dear friend of mine, Seema Mehta, who I have known almost all my adult life. I have to say, we met in college, and we basically had. When we started the Confident Communicator, we were mothers of tweens. We were mothers of 11, 12-year olds, and we wanted to start a company to train, enable, and empower children to become confident. And one of the reasons was very selfish, in that we were noticing that our kids, as well as a lot of their friends, were being labeled as shy, introvert, class में बात नहीं करते हैं, they don't engage with other children. And all of these labels were, in fact, what it was doing, it was making the children more and more underconfident instead of making them more confident. So what we and in our research, as we were doing our research and thinking about this, we realized that one of the top fears in the world over, not just in India, world over, is the fear of public speaking, right? So we said, why not take this fear of public speaking and help the kids and young adults conquer this fear? वो फियर कॉन्कर हो जाएगा, तो ऑटोमेटिकली तुम्हारा कॉन्फिडेंस बढ़ेगा, राइट? एंड वो कॉन्फिडेंस पब्लिक स्पीकिंग में जो बढ़ेगा, कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स में जो बढ़ेगा, इट विल सीप इन टू अदर एरियाज ऑफ योर लाइफ एज वेल. So that's why we started the Confident Communicator. And then usse kya hua? We met thousands and thousands of parents who were sharing their insecurities with us. They were sharing their triggers with us. Many were parents of tweens and teens. So they were, the children were growing up, but they were growing up in an atmosphere very different from the ones that we had grown up with. तो वो fears थे कि अभी ये kids को कैसे handle करें. So we started relying on our expertise and our experience in helping these parents and counseling these parents. And in that, what we decided is, chal, let's build a community. Let's build a community where, again, like I said about the let's grow together, right? Let's build a community where we can empower other parents to become better parents, to parent better, to parent in a way that they are proud of. And so that's the reason why we started the community of imperfect parenting. But the beautiful thing of it was, why did we choose the name imperfect parenting? And there's a story to that. Actually, my daughter was, this is like 10, 12 years ago. Okay. So she was like in her, I think she was maybe 11 or 12 years old. And okay, let me ask you a question. When we parents get into our gyan giving mode, what is the first sentence that we say?
तुम्हारी उम्र में जब हम थे.
Aha, Kalyan. You got it. तुम्हारी उम्र में हम तो ऐसे करते थे, वैसे करते थे, हम तो ये थे, वो थे, व्हेन आई वाज योर एज आई कुड नॉट बैक आंसर माय फादर, आई वाज टेरिफाइड ऑफ माय मदर. ये सब चीजें बोलते थे, राइट? सो एक दिन क्या हुआ, मेरी डॉटर के साथ सेम थिंग हुआ. मेरा लेक्चरबाजी चालू हो गया, एंड आई सेड द सेम थिंग. And I said, when I was your age, and she turned around with so much anger and she said, but I'm not perfect like you. एंड तभी मुझे हिट हुआ कि बच्चों को क्या लग रहा है कि हम लोग परफेक्ट थे, हम लोग मॉडल चाइल्ड थे, हम लोग, there was nothing, you can find no fault with us because of the way that we are communicating with them, because we want the best for them, right? But instead it is having a reverse impact. So that's where then we started to call this imperfect parenting. Let's embrace our imperfections so that we can embrace our children's imperfections and we can all walk this journey together. So that that was a long answer to your short question, but I think there's no favorite part because I adore working with children. And now our kids, Seema's and my kids, are grown up. So we get to relive that age, because I really think the teenage age is one of the best ages because you get to see the future in them. And then I just love working with parents because I love sharing my experiences. Humne jo galatiyan ki, I would love to share it with the other parents so that they don't make the same mistakes, right? So what is my favorite part? I don't know. Everything's my favorite part.
That makes sense. And as you were speaking, मैंने वो चीज़ रियलाइज किया कि बिकॉज हमने अपने पेरेंट्स की जर्नी नहीं देखी है, हमने उनको एक राइट नाउ इफ आई एम लुकिंग एट माय फादर एंड मदर, आई एम लाइक अच्छा ये हैं वो, but I have never seen
Yeah,
them in the progress of getting to this level. And that is why I don't understand ki what is that they have conquered. एंड मुझे मेरे चैलेंजेस पूरे क्लियरली दिख रहे हैं, बट मुझे उनके चैलेंजेस कभी नहीं दिखे थे, तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि उनको मेरी चैलेंजेस कहाँ समझेंगे, मेरी जर्नी कहाँ समझ में आएगी. एंड थिंग्स आर चेंजिंग
exactly.
अ लॉट. वैसा हो गया है.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just as you're saying कि आपको उनकी जर्नी नहीं दिख रही है, similarly हम उनको हम the teenagers की जर्नी नहीं दिख रही है, because they cannot, right? We're living in the teens today, and the kids who are growing up today are living in a completely different world. So, how can we use the exact same parenting techniques that were used on us in our zamana on these kids who are not even living in the same world?
Exactly. That makes complete sense. Yeah, true.
So, yeah, so that's my analysis of that. But I think we'll talk about it a little as we go further.
एग्जैक्टली दैट्स द थिंग. सो आज का जो स्पेस होगा, वी आर गोना टॉक अबाउट से यस टू इम्परफेक्ट पेरेंटिंग, एंड इसके बारे में हमने डिस्कस किया जैसे अभी. So the first question that I'm gonna ask you is around a very weird, different topic altogether.
Mhm.
But it is something that people go through, teens go through. So teenagers में बहुत common है, which is about addiction. And when I speak about addiction, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है that it is something related to alcohol or something like that. There are numerous addictions, numerous. And internet का भी एक addiction है, mobile का भी एक addiction है. So many addictions these days. एंड
Correct.
हमारे पेरेंट्स के टाइम पे इतने एडिक्शंस नहीं थे, बट ऑफ कोर्स उनके अपने चैलेंजेस थे. बट दीज डेज सब हर चीज हमारा अटेंशन लेना चाहती है. सो वी आर इन अ एज वेयर एडिक्शन इज सो कॉमन. हम अगर एडिक्टेड भी हैं तो हमें समझ में नहीं आता, बहुत टाइम के बाद समझ में आता है, व्हेन थिंग्स आर आउट ऑफ आवर हैंड. तो आई जस्ट वांट टू नो योर व्यूज ऑन दिस थिंग. हाउ डू यू, if you have come across this thing, what is your perception about it?
Yeah. So this is this is an amazing question, and you've really framed it very well, Kalyan. And first, before we start talking about addiction, let's understand what is addiction, right? Why do we get quote unquote addicted? Nowadays, words are being thrown around like, like candy. Just everyone uses all kinds of words without really understanding the deeper meaning of it. So why do we what does addiction do? What does addiction to any substance do? Is it it releases dopamine in our brain. Dopamine is something that makes us feel good, makes us feel happy. So, obviously, when you're feeling good and when you're feeling happy, you want to do more of it, right? Now, there are different kinds of addictions. So, you have your addictions like your drugs and your alcohol, which is something that is very visible. Right, you go and you have to go buy the alcohol, you have to go buy the drug, you have to get and then you get addicted to it. Now, in today's generation, what has happened is addiction has taken a slightly more sinister role. And the reason I say sinister, I say it with thought. The addictions have come into our house and they have been welcomed into our house by us. And one of the reasons for that, and I'll talk about it, one of the reasons for that is the pandemic, right? Our COVID pandemic, what happened was 2 years we lost school, going to school. We had lockdowns, we had to stay at home, and children lost 2 years of school. During that time, school went online. All of our classes, everything, tuitions, everything went online. So what happened? We welcomed the phone, the iPad, the laptop into our home. We bought it for our children and we gave it to them, right? Now, that unfortunately has led to a dependency. And why has it led to a dependency? Because of social media. So, you have social media, you have Instagram, you have Twitter, you have YouTube. YouTube is one of the biggest places where children are getting addicted. And what are they getting addicted? They're scrolling. And that scrolling, what happens is it gives them that dopamine rush. Now, when you get that dopamine rush, what do? You do more of it. So you get more dopamine. But what does scrolling do? It gives you immediate dopamine. So now they're starting to get used to immediate gratification. Immediate gratification is a dangerous thing. Why is it a dangerous thing? Now think about it. When you're reading a book, when you read a book, you get a dopamine rush, but it is delayed gratification. Why? Because you have to read each chapter to find out what happens next. What happens next? And as you start getting into the book, and as you go deeper and deeper into the book, you're very desperate to reach the end of the book to find out what happens. And that is where your dopamine delay happens, right? You have to get to the so you have to do some work in order to get to the end of the book in order for the dopamine to release. Same thing with homework. Like teacher gives you studying, right? Teacher gives you homework, you do the homework, you get a certain amount of marks in that homework. That gives you a little bit of dopamine. You study a little harder. In the test, you do a little better. You study a little harder. In the final exam, you do a little better. The dopamine rush is delayed. That is what Think about when we were younger. I'm saying the same thing that I said not to say, but when we were younger, we had landline phones, right? So, what happened was when we had to tell our friends something, we had to wait till we got home. We had to go to the landline phone. We had to call our friends and tell them that piece of news that we were very excited about. Again, that delayed gratification. Unfortunately, with social media, with phones in every single hand, the dopamine rush has become immediate. And that's the addiction. Because now you're going to keep doing that scrolling through Instagram. You're going to keep watching, keep clicking the next video on YouTube and clicking the next video on YouTube. And without realizing, 2, 3 hours have gone by and your brain has been flooded with dopamine. So now what happens is that excess level of dopamine is what your brain has gotten used to. Now you can't do with less. You want that or more. And then that more and more and more is what leads to addiction. So that's what parents are complaining about right now. And that's something that now, as a society, we are going to have to handle. We're going to have to think about how we are going to get these kids that we have intentionally addicted to these devices. How are we going to get them off of it?
That,
Right.
that,
Do you have any, they ask a question, Kalyan?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
sure, go
please,
ahead.
Richa.
Okay, so do we have any solution to it? I mean, मैंने थोड़े दिनों पहले ट्वीट भी किया था. In fact, my niece, she has this phone in her hands and she's scrolling continuously. And मतलब जैसे ही उसके हाथ से फोन लेते हैं तो she starts crying. And the moment you give her phone, उसको कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा है because she is 1 year old. But then still she
Hmm.
wants to scroll. She just wants to scroll the reels. And this is so
Yeah.
dangerous. I look at these childs and I'm like, what is their future? Matlab, what are they going to do with this? So how do you explain this? Do you have any solution to it? What is there
Yeah.
anything you can do about it?
I have a couple of solutions. First of all, you're right, Richa. You're so right that I was at the airport about a couple of weeks ago, and I was looking around and I saw a lot of children on phones, right? And I mean, phones, iPads, whatever, on devices. So I was thinking, chalo, let me do an experiment. थोड़ा सा ऐसे यहाँ वहाँ देखते हैं and let's try to find that one kid that doesn't have the phone in their hand or doesn't have a device in their hand. And so I actually consciously was looking around to find that. And do you know, I was unsuccessful. 100% of not just kids, but kids and parents were on their phones. So that is where the danger is. So when you said, is there a solution? I think the first thing that pops to mind is role modeling, right? What are we role modeling for our kids? I know मेरा addiction है वह मेरे फोन में मैसेज टडंग आता है तो immediately my eyes go to the phone, right? चाहे मैं कुकिंग कर रही हूँ चाहे मैं किड्स के साथ बात कर रही हूँ if I'm in bed, whatever it may be, my eyes go immediately to the phone. So I have to first wean myself off of the device. The second thing, so role modeling is one. The second thing is, guys, I'm going to be very repetitive in this space. I have a feeling, but I'm going to just keep saying conversations, conversations, conversations. And it has to start, Richa, you're right, at the age of 1. You're going to have to constantly be present and be mindful with your children so that you have lots of conversations with them, lots of talking. If I had one thing that I wanted parents to take away from this podcast, I would say talk. Just talk, 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 talk. Encourage them to talk, 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 talk back. Because that is one thing that seems to be a challenge in this generation. Very few people are talking to each other. I remember, I think it was one of my daughter's friends, and she said it very flippantly. I don't think she meant it very seriously, but she said, "Why would you call if you can just send a text?" And that hit me. I'm just like, no, so many things are done through calling and talking and building connections and building relationships through voice as opposed to chatting, as opposed to WhatsApp. Remember when we were chatting about this also, when Kalyan, Richa, Shruti, and I were chatting about this, we were talking on WhatsApp, we were chatting on WhatsApp, and then finally one of us just picked up the phone, right? And we said we have to talk because this chatting mein kuch nahi hone wala hai. We're not going to be able to really get into the depth of our topic. And that's what I think we have to teach our children, and we have to teach our children, reteach our children the value of conversing, of having conversations. So that is something that is extremely important. And conversations can be had anywhere. They can be had at the dining table, they can be had in the car, they can be had, while walking to the school bus stop, they can be had, when they're coming back home from school, when you're dropping them on and off to tuitions, whatever it might be. But encourage conversations. And in order to encourage conversations, you're going to have to put your phone down. So that is where the our addiction also, we are going to have to become very cognizant of our own addictions.
Very true, very true. Definitely, this is a new perspective for a few of us. Like, because I was not aware this is something which we can do. So, uh, this was kind of informative and definitely changed the way things work in
And
this, with,
I
like
want to
Ritu
say,
asked this question. Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad you asked it, Richa, because I want to say just one more thing is, parents always say कि क्या conversation करे. Like, I'm talking of from experience, right? I'm talking about when my parents, my students' parents talk to me, and they'll be like, क्या conversation करे? अभी वो लोग school से आते हैं, हम लोग पूछते हैं कि, how was school? Good. What did you do in school? Nothing. How was you have these very open, very closed-ended questions where they can answer with one word, right? And so nobody wants to talk and nobody's used to talking, but we have to keep on at it. And so for younger kids, we always tell parents, for younger kids, you can ask, what was teacher wearing today? Did you like that color? Describe her, her dress to me or her sari to me. Describe what did what did your best friend have for lunch today? Right? Did she bring, oh, she brought a sandwich and you had whatever you had given, maybe a samosa. So you had taken samosa, she had taken sandwich. Did you guys share? Did you talk about that? When you ask open ended questions like that, they'll start responding, and they will not respond in the first day or the second day this is going to be a process, right? You're going to have to because they look at you and say, now mom, why are you asking me all these dumb questions, right? But slowly, 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 they'll start getting used to having these conversations, and then they'll come home and they'll start talking. When they start talking, lengthen those conversations, because those conversations will distract them from the device. And that's important, because we will talk later also about how all of these devices also lead to devices, social media, Instagram, YouTube, filters, photographs, all of these things, how they lead to anxiety. So we have to even think about, be mindful about that. It's not just a question of, oh, wo phone pe hai pura din. It's not that. It's leading to a lot of the mental health crisis that we are seeing in the world today, and that's something that we need to be careful with. So again, I say, conversations, just go. We, the Confident Communicator, we have a lovely product called conversation cards, which has lots of conversation prompts. But heck, just go on Google and find some fun conversation prompts, very humorous ones that will make them laugh, age appropriate, right? And talk. What's your favorite show? Who's your favorite actor? Why do you like that? Oh my God, look at his hair. It's so long. Do you think long hair on boys is great? Start opening up conversations with your kids and start asking for their opinions. When you start asking for their opinions, they become more confident in talking to you. You're not judging them for their opinions. Once you start getting those opinions, what fabulous discussions and conversations you can have, because we are living in a generation with like the smartest, kindest. I'm telling you, I've trained so many children. I know that this generation for sure is like the kindest, most loving, most creative, and heck, so intelligent. They're like tech savvy. You were saying, Richard, tech savvy at the age of 1. She knows what a reel is at the age of 1. I didn't know what a phone was at the age of 13, right? So they are one of the smartest generations. Let's give them the credit for that.
ग्रेट एंड दीपमा मैम, द थिंग इज जैसे कि अभी हमने बात किया अबाउट द मोबाइल एडिक्शन एंड जब
Yeah.
हम रील स्क्रॉल करते हैं, द वन इशू दैट आई हैव अंडरस्टूड इज कि आपकी कॉन्फिडेंस एंड कंसंट्रेशन, कॉन्फिडेंस कम्स
Yes.
लेटर बट कंसंट्रेशन कीप्स गोइंग डाउन, राइट?
Yes.
नाउ
Yes.
ये तो है ही है, साथ ही साथ अब मैं जो आपको नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन पूछने वाला हूँ, इट इज गोना बी अ लिटिल uncomfortable, but I do want to ask you this question because there are a lot of men out there, lot of
Yeah.
men out there, and they all are facing this problem. Most of them are facing this problem, and this is called as porn addiction, right? Ab
Yes.
as a man, we don't open up to each other. हम हमें पता ही नहीं है कि कैसे बात करना है, क्या करना है, and this, and I was reading this book called Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, and उसमें बहुत clearly लिखा था कि women love to talk to each other and they like to share things, but men don't
Yes.
do that. And हम अपने तक ही
Mhm.
चीजें रखते हैं. And when I talk about the porn addiction, I too witnessed something like that, and I read a lot about it, and then I realized कि
Mhm.
ठीक है, मुझे यहाँ से निकलना पड़ेगा, राइट? आई मैंने
Correct.
मैंने बहुत
Correct.
राइट टाइम पे मैं वहां से निकल गया. एंड मैंने भी
Mm.
बहुत लेट अपनी लाइफ में पॉर्न को देखा, बिकॉज उस टाइम पे आया नहीं था. एंड अब तो मतलब यू वोंट बिलीव कि देर आर बच्चे जो 9 साल के, 10 साल के, 11 साल के बच्चे भी पॉर्न देख रहे हैं. लाइक देयर
Yes.
होल wiring will go differently, like their
Yes.
understanding about relationship will be so different. Now
Absolutely.
अंडर द पॉन दे विल बी फीलिंग कि हाँ, हम अभी किसी से भी, किसी भी लड़की से बात करेंगे, शील टॉक टू मी एंड शील एग्री
Mhm.
फॉर एवरीथिंग दैट आई आस्क फॉर. बट दैट्स नॉट द
Mhm.
रियलिटी, राइट? बिकॉज
Yeah.
उन्होंने पॉन देखा है. दैट्स द हार्ड
Yeah.
रियलिटी. एंड जब वो रियल लाइफ में आते हैं, लड़कियों से बात करने की बात आती है, तो दे कैन नॉट डू इट एंड दे मेस अप
Correct.
कंप्लीटली. एंड से उनका कॉन्फिडेंस गिरता है. साथ ही साथ मोर वॉचिंग पॉर्न लोअर्स डाउन द कॉन्फिडेंस. उनका
Yes.
उनका सेल्फ
Yes.
एस्टीम कम होने लगता है. देयर आर सो मेनी इश्यूज विद दिस. एंड देयर
Mhm.
वाज दिस कम्युनिटी दैट स्टार्टेड, हम मेन लोगों ने स्टार्ट की थी, which was called no fab community, where people
Mhm.
were basically trying to not watch porn and not
Mhm.
masturbate, and trying to
Mm.
limit that. And there are
Correct.
several studies कि अगर आपने masturbation नहीं किया तो 7 दिन में your testosterone level goes up, and a lot of benefits. But
Mm.
the thing is, this was so new to everybody. People did not understand कि वो addicted है at the first. So they were going through a lot. And उसके बाद जब they went into a relationship and जब उनकी शादी भी होती है, they cannot be happy
Yes.
because there is so many things that are involved in it. Do you want to
Yeah.
talk about this one? Have you come
Yeah.
across
Let
this
me let
scenario?
me
Yeah.
tackle this. Let me tackle this from two angles. So the first angle obviously is I'd like to take it a little further, and I'd say the first angle I want to talk about is sex education for both boys and girls. It's not just a boy problem. It's a universal problem because of its accessibility, right? So since it has become so accessible, children are getting their information from the wrong place. And that is why it becomes even more important for us to up our intelligence in how we convey sex education to our children. And that has to happen in several places. It has to happen in school, it has to happen at home. So now we are going to have to get rid of our discomfort in talking about these things to our children, right? So now, what I suggest to all of my parents, all of the parents who have come to us, what we suggest and what we tell them is it has to start at the age of 2 or 3 when the children start communicating, but it has to be age appropriate. So, obviously, a 2 or 3 year old, you're not going to like bombard them with all the information, right? You're not going to give them all the facts. You're going to start the education with maybe good touch, bad touch, right? You will start with that. You will start with asking them again. See, I'm coming back to talking and conversations. If you have lots of conversations with children, they will automatically come back and tell you if someone is they're uncomfortable with someone's touch, whether in school, whether in the whether in the play school or the Montessori or the daycare, wherever it is that they're going, or in the park. So they have, again, it's that conversation. And you can't start the conversation by saying, oh, is anybody touching you inappropriately? No. It has to be where you've built that trusting relationship where it comes out as part of the conversation. So you start with good touch, bad touch. Then you go further and start giving them a little bit more information. If they have siblings, you talk about the body parts being completely different. Then, as they grow a little bit older, you'd probably start talking about what are the differences between girls and boys, and as they get a little older, and once it starts becoming, you know that they're going to start talking about it in science when they start introducing human physiology and biology. You start talking about the reproduction, and then that's the age, at the tween age, around 11 or 12, is when you start talking. But this has started, 10 years ago when they were two. But now you start talking about relationships, and you start talking about pornography, and you start talking about the addiction. Because again, now let's go to the addiction to pornography part. Number one, it's become accessible because there's a phone in every hand. Number two, the children are so tech savvy that whatever parental controls you put, they're able to get through. They're able to go past them. Things that, we didn't even know how to set parental controls. Now they know how to get past those parental controls. And then you start, again, you've built that relationship of conversations where you start saying everything that you see is not how it is in the real world, right? So it's not about, if I love someone, I have to have sex with them. That does not make sense. You have to start realizing that there are emotional needs, mental needs, and physical needs. And these are three different kinds of needs, and you have to tackle each one of them. You can't just go straight to the physical. But how will you be able to have that conversation with your child? If you've built that relationship with your child earlier, if you've had conversations, if you've accepted your imperfection and said, honey, this is a very difficult conversation for me, it's very uncomfortable for me, but we have to talk about it because this is how it is in your generation. In my generation, we just learnt about all this stuff from our friends. But this generation, we have to talk about it. So let's sit down and talk about it. Do you have any questions? Do you have any, have you heard something from someone else? Do you have any doubts? What goes where? How does it go? How does it happen? What happens? Let's talk about it. And I am telling you, right in the beginning, it's going to be a little uncomfortable, but I'm going to try to answer you as honestly as I can. And once you accept your imperfections, once you accept that you're human too, and once you accept that you don't have all the answers, for example, there were times when I had to kind of, with my son especially, I had to either refer him to my husband, or I had to say, you know what, I don't know, let's find out together. Let's read about it together, because I also don't know what you're asking. And if we're able to be vulnerable with our kids, if we're able to be authentic and honest with them, you're automatically setting that role model for them to be honest with you. So when stuff like that happens, when they are being pressured, for example, when girls are being pressured into a physical relationship, when boys are being pressured sometimes into a physical relationship, when girls or boys, either one, are acting a little bit promiscuous and are feeling that I can get love only if I, whatever, if I do this or if I do that, and they're being pressured into that, they feel comfortable coming to you because they know that you're not immediately going to, burst, your volcano isn't going to burst, and you're not immediately going to ground them, or you're not immediately going to punish them. You're going to talk about it, and you're going to figure it out together. So all throughout their lives, I firmly believe, and I have made these mistakes myself, and I have regretted them and tried to correct them. Any problem that they have, we have to say, why don't we find the solution together? Instead of saying, I am the God of all knowledge, and I am going to tell you the answer, and you are going to listen to it because I'm your boss. Because what happens then is, as they get older and as they become adults, you are not going to be their boss. And then they're going to have all these crazy, stupid ideas which are not correct in their head, and they're going to end up making foolish decisions. So we have to be careful about that. And that's the reason I think with our generation of children, that's the one thing: being honest, being open, being vulnerable as parents, and trying to find out answers together.
सो बेसिकली मैम आपने जो बताया दैट दैट इज परफेक्ट, मगर जिन पेरेंट्स ने अपने बच्चों के साथ 2 साल की उम्र में बात करना शुरू किया, दे आर मोस्टली अ वोक पेरेंट्स. व्हेन आई से वोक, वोक इज अ इंटरनेट स्लैंग वर्ड, आई एम श्योर यू नो दिस. सो वोक, वो लोग.
Unfortunately, I do.
Yes. So they are these woke parents, right? But what about the parents जिन्होंने
Yeah,
थोड़ा लेट
yeah, yeah.
समझा इस चीज को कि हमें कम्युनिकेट करना है. So they,
Yes,
when they
yes.
they decided कि हमें आज से स्टार्ट करना है, their kids are far apart from them. The kids
Yeah,
don't want to speak to them anymore. Like not speak, but then not speak
not
about
share.
their feelings. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And वो separation बहुत ज्यादा हो जाता है. And every time a
It's
parent
hard,
try to.
Kalyan. It is hard. I'm
Exactly.
telling you, it is hard, but it's not impossible. So, whatever age they are at, open the door to conversation. And maybe this exact thing that you just told me, if you told that to any child, if you told that to any 12-year-old, 13-year-old, they'd be open to listening. If you said, I'm sorry, we didn't have this conversation earlier. I'm sorry. There were a lot of gaps in because of how I was raised. I was, I was scared. I was embarrassed. I was shy. I was uncomfortable talking to you about this. I'm so sorry. Dad and I didn't talk to you about these things because this was not something that we discussed in polite company. And so we were just like, shit, how am I going to bring it up? I'm so sorry, bacha. I didn't bring it up with you. But अभी let's start ना, it's never too late. चलो let's start. What are some of the things? And हम लोग दोनों uncomfortable होंगे together. Like I'll also be uncomfortable, you'll also be uncomfortable. But आज हम लोग बात चालू करेंगे, तो कल will be little less uncomfortable. Later on we'll be, 2 days later we'll be little less uncomfortable. And I promise you one thing. I will try to answer your questions or find the answers to your questions as honestly as I can. हम लोग अपना I'm telling you, Kalyan, whatever age it is, with whoever it is, when you show your vulnerability and when you have an authentic conversation in which you're willing to be wrong, which is something that is very new to our parents now, right? It is very new because we've never had our parents admit that they were wrong. So it's a very uncomfortable thing for us. But if we do that, we will get back to our children and we will be able to form that connection with them and help them out. And of course, I think the next step after that, if there's difficulty beyond that, then there's so much therapy and counseling available where parents and children can attend therapy and counseling together, and it works wonders. My friend always says, Seema, my partner, she always says ki, yeah, if you have a cough or a cold, you go to the doctor, na? So what is this nonsense stigma about not going to the doctor if you have some emotional or mental problem? And that is so true. So seek out a therapist.
Yeah, this stigma is there, and it is very difficult to like currently. I feel it is very difficult to change that mentality because in my like the people I am also surrounded with, few of them do go to therapists, but again there are few people out there who feels that, hey, why are you going to therapist? I mean, do you have any the kind of thought process which is there, it is very wrong.
Yeah. And I think one person at a time, we have to clear that. We have to. I'm so glad you're doing this space, and I'm so glad that we're putting this out there. कि भैया तुम्हें सर्दी जुकाम होगी तो तुम डॉक्टर के पास जाओगे तो why the hell? Look at Deepika Padukone. How nicely she has explained that when someone asked me कि are you okay, I didn't know what to tell them because I was not okay, because she has struggled with depression and mental health issues, right? And she has come out. And if a celebrity can come out, and we always look at someone like Deepika Padukone and say, what the hell, yeah, what problems does she have? She's married to her dream man, she has her dream mansion, she looks like a dream. you know she's the daughter of like India's top badminton player. What problems does she have? Usko to hamare jaise problems nahi hai. But look, she's come out into the open and she said, "Na, I'm human." And I love that she's done that. And I think all of us need to do it more. And the minute someone says कि तुम्हारा क्या प्रॉब्लम है रे, तुमको क्या प्रॉब्लम है, ये थेरेपिस्ट के पास, आर यू मैड, तुम पागल हो इसलिए थेरेपिस्ट के पास जा रहे हो, you have to kind of educate people one person at a time and say, नहीं, I'm just feeling, I'm feeling like I need help. I'm having a lot of overwhelm, or I'm having a lot of problem with my thoughts, and my doctor is helping me figure that out. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, and it should not be hidden. And now these conversations, if we start having with our children, think about how, again, speaking of confidence, think about how confidently they'll walk out into the world because they know that we are behind them. And we're not saying किसी को बताना नहीं, हाँ, कि तू थेरेपिस्ट के पास जा रहा है, प्लीज, बिकॉज नहीं तो लोग क्या कहेंगे, राइट? इंस्टेड ऑफ दैट, इफ वी से उसमें क्या है, लुक एट माय पेरेंट्स, मेरे को प्रॉब्लम है तो मेरे को डॉक्टर के पास लेके जा रहे हैं, मेरे को थेरेपिस्ट के पास लेके जा रहे हैं, आई एम सो प्राउड ऑफ माय पेरेंट्स एंड माय पेरेंट्स आर प्राउड ऑफ मी. Let's change the narrative now, let's change the story one person at a time, he sahi, but let's change it.
Very true. Also, the level of detail and insight you're bringing to this discussion, Deepma, I'm just loving it.
Thank you. I
Because
hope I'm not talking too much.
we we uh, we very much appreciate the conversation which is happening here and the perspective you are bringing in this discussion, making it more informative. We all are loving it, so definitely
Thank you.
this is
Thank you.
amazing. Also,
Thank you.
because of the work that you do every day, you got to talk to lots of parents and teens.
Yes.
So, like, please share your perspective on how things have changed over the past decade in terms of conquering fears and confidence and thought process
Okay. So
of today's teens.
I have a little bit of not a different perspective, but I think it's a little surprising one to some, and that is that in our generation, see, every generation brings to the world a different set of skills, right? So our generation brought the skills of factual recollection of data. So we memorized all of our textbooks, and we, happily went and vomited those textbooks out on the exam paper, and we got our marks. And our determinant of success was, तुम्हें 90% मिला, मुझे 95% मिला, I am quote unquote better than you, right? So that was my generation, where we brought in, it was the marks that brought in the likelihood, I want to say, of success. The next generation after ours, and future generations as well, that is not going to be their determinant of success, right? Because look at these things. I was just reading we were driving to Trichy this afternoon, so I had a lot of time in the car, and I was reading about chat, what's that thing, GPT, GTP, whatever it is,
Chat
the
GPT, yes.
GPT, yeah. The thing which make, just you want to write a paper about Einstein, it'll write a fabulous factual paper about an Einstein. Now, if you want to make it more specialized and say, oh, I want it for a 12-year-old, it will write it in that perspective. Oh, I want it for a 22-year-old college essay, it will write it in that perspective, right? So it's able to do these incredible, insane things that we thought only us smart people as human beings could do. We went further and we do research, and these are the things that we bring to the table. Now it's all of that is being automated. So what is the differentiator, or what is the determinant of success for these next generations? And I would like to say that the determinant of success will be these children who are able to push themselves out of their comfort zones. So if the comfort zone of 98% of the population is being on their phone, then the people who are going to succeed, the 2% who is going to succeed, are the ones who are not on their phones all the time. If 98% of the population says, like my daughter's friend said, if you can send a chat, if you can send a text, why would you call? then the 2% who actually pick up the phone and call are the ones who are going to be the successful ones, right? If 98% of the population is doing, is just doing coding or AI or, whatever it is, software or um, uh, some level of engineering, who are the 2% who will be successful? Maybe the ones who are able to build relationships, who are able to network, who are able to build connections. So that I am thinking that for this generation and the next, building EQ is going to be far more important than building IQ. Because IQ now, we are able to, even with the first or the second iteration of this chat GPT, we are able to outsource it to softwares, right? So now we have to start thinking about what are the foundational skills that we need that could differentiate us from everyone else, and those are the skills that we need to build. So that's the difference in the generations, and that is why I feel that how we were parented, we cannot blindly parent our children in the exact same way, because if we do, then there's going to be problems. They are dealing with a completely different world, they are dealing with completely different challenges, and they are dealing with uh, they the entire world has just flipped because we got by on our IQ. Our children are going to have to get by on their EQ, get ahead. I want to say, I'm not discounting excuse me, I'm not discounting any form of learning. What I am saying is, what is going to be that differentiator? Find out that differentiator and then enable, empower, and help your children discover that.
Very true. Also, a few minutes back, you were mentioning about getting the conversation prompt to
Yeah.
talk to the childrens and all. So that this thing was coming in my mind, that it have became very easier because of this chat GPT thing, that you will just ask it for a conversation prompt and it will give you a list of prompts. So even that thing have become so easier. So nowadays, the only thing which is required is having a proper communication with your kids.
So maybe get the conversation prompt and then close the chat GPT and sit down and actually have that conversation.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, but wherever, whatever, one of our biggest things that the confident communicator, both of us, Seema and I, are so passionate about is, please, please, please try to get away from the device. Try for yourself and for your children's mental health. Get away from that device, at least for 30, 40 minutes a day. Just get away from it and have a real conversation. And for that, you and your spouse are going to have to put down your phones as well.
True. Which is
So
very much needed.
that's my thing. That's my big thing. That's my big message out there.
Yeah, which is very important. Also, I would like to say here, all the listeners, if you have any question, please post it in the comment section so that Deepma ma'am can take it ahead. Also, DJ sir, you raised your hand. Would you like to say something?
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we can.
Great. Thank you. This has been really phenomenal. So, Kalyan, Shruti, once again, super job. I had a couple of comments. Deepma had a couple of three questions actually, but I think in the interest of time, let me just start with the comment part of it. I probably am like you at this stage in the sense that imperfect parenting. I think I can write a book on it. Okay, so
You and me both. Come, let's collaborate.
I am telling you, okay, I would love to do that. And a couple of the points that you mentioned, the ones that really resonated with me because I found them working for me immensely, has been the whole vulnerable part of it.
Yes.
The dopamine part of it, probably, okay, have a very different view on it. I think the future is going to have chat GPT. I think,
Correct.
and I think this is the comment, and would love to hear you argue about this back if possible. Is while you mentioned EQ, one of
Yeah.
the things that I have been, and when you're in a hardcore corporate job and working with people, and I also had the good fortune of being a teacher to 18-year-olds for some time, beyond
Mm.
having two girls in their 20s right now. So,
Okay.
so like I said, amazing experience on imperfection.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I keep telling people about is the fact that EQ is going to be the differentiator without a doubt. I think
100%.
beyond that, I think there's something that I call AQ, I think, which we need to start bringing into people's way of thinking a lot. I think the AQ in my mind is standing for your application quotient. Like you rightly said, I think that
Ah,
we really do not have the liberty of saying that I know so much because I ratamar out so much. But
well said.
so one was the application quotient. Okay. The second, okay, is your adaptability quotient. Because probably this generation is going to have to adapt far more than any of the previous
Mm-hmm.
generations of mankind have ever had to. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The other two ones, okay, are uh, again, like I said, no, may not sound right, but I just think it just helps to build with the attitude side of it to handle failure more than anything else. I call
Yeah.
it the albatross quotient and the audacity quotient.
Wow.
So I think this is
Can you
this.
tell me a little bit about the albatross quotient? What do you mean by that? And I do want to talk about failure. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. No, so the albatross question to me is, see, the albatross is a bird which has got this amazing wingspan. Okay,
Yes.
that's where it kind of came in from, and just that thing on saying if you really want to be in the top 2% of the world, you need to have a wingspan which is beyond what you're doing, beyond the industry that you're in, and so
Mm-hmm.
on and so forth. So unless you are, what we call a 360 person, see,
Yes.
unless you are way bigger than your space itself, okay, you will never
Yeah.
be able to strike the world in the end. So, audacity on one side, being an albatross on the other, is the right mind space to kind of get started off on.
So true. So beautifully said. So beautifully said. I love it. I'm going to write down these four A's for AQ because that's incredible. So we should kind of get in touch and see if we can
I
collaborate on these.
I would love
But
to. I would
very
absolutely love to do that.
awesome, awesome. So do get in touch. But I love that you also brought up this concept of failure because I think that's very, very, very important. One of the things if you wanted to distinguish between perfect parenting and imperfect parenting, right? First of all, there's no such thing as perfection. We know that. But what is happening is a lot of parents try to be quote unquote the perfect parents, and so I remember this story when I was in college, and I had some friends from the engineering school, and we were all chatting and talking one evening, and that point came up where one of them said, मैं इतना डरता था मेरे डैड से बिकॉज मैं डैड को जब मैं रिजल्ट्स दिखाने जाता था एंड मुझे 98-99% आए हुए थे तो ही वुड से कि वो 1 मार्क कहाँ गया and the other side of it, and he's like, everyone laughed, it was a big joke. And then there was another person who said, अरे जब मैं मेरा रिजल्ट दिखाता था तो my dad used to say वो 99 marks कहाँ गए right? So that was the big joke about it. But I started thinking, I said, what is this perfection? And it's become worse as we've become parents, is we want them to become परफेक्ट इन एवरीथिंग सो वो 99 मार्क्स भी लाओ एंड मैथ्स में भी लाओ और साइंस में भी लाओ और इंग्लिश में भी लाओ और फिर देन इफ यू आर नॉट टॉकिंग इफ यू डोंट स्पीक अप इन क्लास तो वो भी कॉन्फिडेंस करना है कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स करना है राइटिंग भी करना है भरतनाट्यम भी करना है आर्ट भी करना है ये भी करना है वो ड्रामा में भी परफॉर्म करना है and you just want them to be the best. Can you imagine the expectation stress on our children? Because they just have to do everything and they have to do everything fabulously well. Otherwise, they are not going to be. Here's the other one that parents need to remember: acceptance. They are not going to be accepted by their parents. Forget anyone outside the house. their parents are also going to question them कि ये क्यों नहीं हुआ, वो elocution competition थी, उसकी लड़की ने elocution competition में part लिया, तुमने क्यों नहीं लिया? That one's the son became an MC in the school play, तुमने क्यों नहीं part लिया? Why didn't you give your name? Why didn't you do this? Why don't you have 99% in math? Why are you not fourth standard में IIT JEE का coaching चालू हो जाता है? You know, and I'm just thinking seriously, what if, and this is a question for all of you parents out there, what if we just set our expectations aside and we allowed them to become the artist and the architect of their own lives through conversation? And it can change. So, fourth standard, may, my daughter wanted to be an artist. Fifth standard, may she realized that's not going to happen. Sixth standard, may she wanted to be something else. Why not allow them the ability, one, to change their mind, and two, to design their own lives as they grow up according to their likes, and allow them. I have changed, and my children know this, and they've seen this. I've role modeled this for them. I have changed my career 4 times in my life. So if I am able to change my career 4 times in my life because one thing wasn't working and I got interested in something else and then I got interested in something else, if I was able to do that, my kids can do that. Why do they have to settle at the age of, we ask our children, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I find that such an irritating question because, yeah, 10 saal ka bacha, how are they going to know what they want to do? And then you'll hold them to it, because if somebody says doctor, then you're like, from the age of 10 you wanted to be a doctor, now you be a doctor. These are things, our expectations thoda sa hum log ko side pe rakhna padega. let them uh, let them design their own life. Let them be the architect of their own life. Be there with them, help them through it, but don't sit there and fulfill your dreams through your children, please. That is my sincere request to parents. And the second example I want to give is, we're very big, both Seema and I are huge on failure, because if you've never failed in your life, that means you have never achieved anything. That is our belief. So in our classes also, when we have our sessions, every week we ask our students, okay, how did you fail this week? And then we celebrate that. And it takes the sting out of failure. When you take the sting out of failure, children, aapne jo bola DJ, the audacity factor will come out. They'll be more willing to be audacious. They will be more willing to take risks. And failure is a very, very allowing and accepting and making failure, normalizing failure becomes is what is needed for these new adults, young adults, and in the workforce, to be willing to take risks and to be willing to do things differently than what is conventionally necessary. And that leads to creativity and innovation. So let's start young and let's say, you know what, it's okay. Failing is also, my friend Seema always says, and I love it, I'm going to quote it, and she's listening in and she's probably smiling to herself, but she says, today's day is over. It's never coming again. It's just never going to repeat. Similarly, if you made a mistake today, it's gone tomorrow. Start over. It's okay. Yeah, there is a sting. If it's a bigger mistake, then yeah, there are some repercussions, there are consequences. I'm not saying there's never any consequences to your mistakes. There are consequences, but nothing is ever, and this is something that I have told my children right from the beginning, nothing is ever the end of the world. Nothing. Nothing is, uh, to coin a new word, nothing is unfigure outable. Everything you can figure out. Everything you can get past. So don't worry, it's never the end of the world. So these are some things that I'd like to, put out there.
That explains a lot. And also ये point जहाँ पे if we give a safe space to the kids कि तुम गलती करो, it's okay, will go a long way with the kid, because उनका confidence बहुत boost होता है, and they get to understand कि ठीक है, failure is failure, that is okay, I can still move on. So it's
Yes.
a great thing to talk about. And also, one thing that I would like to talk about, is something that most Indian face, which is a daddy issue. I'm sorry to use this word, but something that is very common with all the Indians out there. सबको सबको कहीं ना कहीं किसी किसी लेवल का डैडी इश्यूज है ही. मैं दूसरों की क्यों बात करूं, मुझे खुद भी है. तो द पॉइंट इज हाउ is something like this, because a father don't get to spend a lot of time with their kids, and that is like a thing, because पापा लोग को लगता है कि पैसे कमाना इज इम्पोर्टेंट. उस टाइम पे था बिकॉज इट वॉज अ सर्वाइवल थिंग. सो द किड्स डिड नॉट गेट अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम टू टॉक टू देयर फादर. They were very close to their mother but not to their father. So now that father has time, the kids cannot talk to them because there is some kind of a distance between them, and so much more. So how should one approach this problem? Would you like to say something on this, ma'am?
I have a very short answer to this, and I've said this before. Conversations, conversations, conversations. We've just got to open the door to conversations. Daddy issues often come from the distance, right? That oh, dad is the one, dad is the provider, and two, dad is the disciplinarian, and three, dad is emotionally unavailable. Break all these three myths, break them. Of course, he's a provider, but mom's a provider too in her own way. I want to quote Oprah here, where she says, if we had to pay all of the stay at home moms salaries according to their hourly, according to minimum wage, even if we gave them minimum wage on the number of hours that they worked, moms would be making about $200,000 a year. Think about it. So, moms are providers too. Now, the second thing, disciplinarian. Again, and I'm going to talk about this as we end. I'm going to say, what I have a little acronym that I kind of made up, where mom and dad are a team. So it's time for now, ये जमाने में now moms and dads are equally educated, equally qualified, equally capable, and so they can become part of the disciplinary process. I don't like this system where you say, अच्छा डैडी को आने दो रात को फिर मैं बोलती हूँ उनको फिर then third thing, they become the disciplinarian and they have to be they are the ones who always have to get to be the bad guy. Why can't moms handle the discipline themselves, right? And the third thing is in emotionally unavailable. Why? Again, because we have been told that it is not quote unquote masculine to be emotionally available. So let's break that myth from this generation onwards and say no. Men are equally emotionally available and they can be part of their children's lives and upbringing as not, maybe not. If there's a stay at home mom, then maybe not as much as mom in terms of physical proximity. But then again, dinner time conversations, sit down and have a conversation. Here's what I did in office today. Here's what, when so and so said such and such, I felt bad or I got angry. Mom, what did you do today? Mom, when mom went to office, this happened, and this is where she felt bad, or this is where she felt sad, or this is where she felt happy. Okay, now child, what did you do today in school? When did you feel bad, sad, happy? Right? These are the conversations that have to happen, but then dad and mom have to be off the phone and dad and mom have to be available. And second thing, we took a very informal survey in one of our classes, and we had I think 30 or 40 students in that class, and we took an informal survey about how many of them ate dinner together. And do you know that there were 3 kids in that class who raised their hand and said we eat dinner together? 27 kids said, no, we don't eat dinner together. Somebody is eating in front of the TV, somebody is eating in the kitchen, somebody is eating in front of the laptop, someone is eating in their room. These are small things that we're going to have to change, because if we make physical proximity at dinner time a necessity, automatically conversations will start flowing. Conversations start flowing, these kind of uncomfortable issues will come up. These kind of uncomfortable issues will come up. Daddy will also weigh in on the issue, and mummy will also weigh in on the issue. So there will not be any of those, oh, I'm closer to mom rather than dad, or dad only always shouts and mom, mom's the one who suljaus the problem. All those things won't happen only, no?
Yeah, that was really, really insightful, Deepma. I cannot tell कि मैं कितना space को enjoy कर रही हूँ.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah. So excuse this voice. I live real near railway station. So excuse my
Oh,
voice. Okay, so
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
I want to ask this one thing.
Hmm.
Internet bully और bully in general, uh, मतलब ये बहुत broad term है, तो हम इसको अगर specifically मैं अगर बात करूँ तो there are trolls around internet and there are trolls in home. Like you said that काफी ज्यादा parents कभी कभी बहुत ज्यादा compare कर देते हैं. So
Yeah.
do you think it is a kind of a bully? Yeah, do you think that students like children actually get bullied at their home or even on their internet, because this is a completely new era for this
Yeah.
generation. They have not seen this before, this bullying thing. So how do you see this thing?
Uh, Bullying is something, anti-bullying is something that I'm very, very passionate about. And we see it everywhere and we see it more and more now. Because, well, not more and more, just in a different way now. Because, like you said, internet bullying has become a very, very big problem. Um, Especially because we feel, many of us feel that if we are faceless, if we're not in front of that person, we can say whatever we want and get away with it, right? And what happens is that creates a very negative uh, atmosphere and a very negative vibe. And the internet is full of this. But you have playground bullies as well. You have school bullies as well. You have bullies at home. Like you said, parents tend to kind of bully kids very often because of a lack of time. You just want to get that work done, and so then you say कि अभी ये नहीं करोगे तो ऐसा करेंगे, and it's just like there's not a lot of conversation or explanation around it, and we just tend to bully our kids into just getting the damn thing done because we don't have time. So that is something that is happening, and we are noticing more and more of it. But with bullying, I think we have to break it up into three the three categories of bullying. The first is, or the three people that are involved in bullying. The first is obviously the bully, the one who is doing the bullying. The second is the victim, the one who is being bullied. And the third is the bystander, the one who's standing there and watching and doing nothing about it. Right? So, first thing I want to say is, don't, anytime, any of you, anyone listening out there, don't ever be a bystander, right? Jump in. When you feel that there is bullying happening, jump in and try to help. And there's different ways to help. There's a whole podcast waiting to happen on that. But what I want to say about bullying, the bully, the victim, and the bystander, is what are each of them feeling, right? What is the victim feeling when you see bullying, Shruti or Richa or Kalyan or anyone? When you see bullying happening, what do you think the victim is feeling?
It is obviously very heartbreaking. Sometimes, even when I face these kind of things, I sometimes feel that what have I done wrong to get all these things coming
Yeah,
to me? It is heartbreaking, of course.
of course. You start questioning your own worth, right? So it is a feeling of unworthiness. It is a feeling of a loss of control. You lose control of yourself, of your worth, of your feelings. And what is the consequence of that? You often go into your shell. You go back within and you start withdrawing, right?
Yeah,
Now, the interesting thing, and we did this as an experiment, we've done this as an experiment with an anti bullying campaign, is what is the bully feeling? And we realized that the bully also is feeling a loss of control and hence is trying to grab control back in a very negative way by trying to bully someone else, by trying to be lording it over someone else, or has felt a loss of control earlier and so is revengefully taking it out on someone who is less quote unquote powerful than them. The bully is also feeling a sense of unworthiness. There is a bully is always a coward. We all know that, right? A bully is never someone who is very well adjusted. The bully is always a coward. So they are also feeling unworthy, and they have also, this might be a way of them coming out of their shell, and I'll explain this. But let's go to the third party involved in bullying, and that's the bystander. What does the bystander feel? The bystander also feels a loss of control, because the bystander say, मैं क्या करूं? बाप रे, मैं जाऊंगा बीच में तो मेरी भी पिटाई होगी, राइट, वेदर फिजिकली और इमोशनली और मेंटली. सो बाबा, इट्स बेटर तू, तू झेल, टाइप ऑफ थिंग, right? They are feeling a loss of control. When you feel a loss of control and you're actually watching someone else suffer, obviously your sense of self worth also goes down. कि मैं कुछ नहीं कर पाया, मैं उसको नहीं बचा पाया, right? And so that tends to make you also go into your shell. So it is the exact same feelings in different ways that each of the parties of bullying is feeling. And what we noticed when we did an anti bullying group discussion in our class is we had this group discussion. We felt, what you were saying, Shruti, where you said, it's heartbreaking. I'm feeling terrible. I'm feeling मैंने क्या किया, to deserve this. All of those things, and everyone was sharing their feelings about when they were bullied. And then at the end of the discussion, suddenly one boy raised his hand, 13-year-old, 13, 14-year-old. He raised his hand and he said, Auntie, I want to say something. And we said, What is it? And he said, Auntie, I'm the bully. I bully other people, but I only do it for fun. And I never realized that these people are feeling so terrible that they don't want to come to school again. That they don't want to ever, they don't want to come and sit in the bus. They want to leave the school and go. They want to, there are times when, kids are saying, I want to end my life. I didn't realize that I was just doing it for fun. Or I was just doing it because मैं जब भी fifth standard में था मेरे को भी किसी ने bully किया था. So now I am stronger, so I am bullying someone in fifth standard. When we heard that, and when the victims heard that, it was such a powerful moment because we realized that they were all kids and they all just needed to hear each other's feelings. Even the bystanders needed to hear what is it that the bully was feeling. The bully was hoping that someone would stop him, and no one did. So he started getting more and more powerful, right? So the bystanders also had realized that it is not that hard. Sometimes all you have to do is just chime in and be that person, be that voice for the victim, and you will feel so good about yourself at the end of the day. So you have to think of it that way. And hopefully, if there are bullies out there, they are hearing this. If there are victims and bystanders out there also, they are hearing this. The other thing that we tend to do as parents is very often we say, it's okay now, you have to, हमको भी bullying हुई थी and हमने भी झेला था, it's a rite of passage, you have to go through it. It's dangerous to say that and to force children to accept it, because there are children who are going through a lot of mental health trauma as a result of bullying. And if we don't pay attention to it and if we don't take it seriously, it could get worse. So we have to, again, conversations, right? If you've built that relationship with your children, if you've built that connection with your children where they feel safe, you've built that safe space for them to come and tell you anything, knowing that even if there will be consequences, even if you will discipline them, you are never going to judge them and you're never going to throw them away. You're never going to push them away. You're always going to try to sort it out together. They will come and they will tell you. One of our parents, it was so interesting, she said, her child was being bullied, her daughter's lunch was being taken away by her by a friend, by a bully in school. And at the PTM, the teacher said to her, ki, she always seems very lethargic and she always seems very out of energy, and I don't know why it is. And so they probed a little deeper and they found out that she was not eating lunch in school because this girl was taking away her lunch every day. So they came up with a, see how when you parents and children are talking together, see what happens. They came up with a very creative solution where the mother, the next day, for the next 3, 4 days, she sent 2 dabbas with her daughter. And she wrote a note, very nice note to the other girl saying, "Ke, looks like you're really hungry and you love my cooking. So here's a special dabba for you. Here you go." So 2, 3 days she did that, and then finally that girl came to this parent's child and said, "Hey, tell your mom, yeah, don't don't send the dabba. I'm fine. I'm sorry, I was taking away your dabba." But what did we do? We took away the control from her, right? We took away the control to hurt us from her, from that other girl. And she had to come back and apologize and say she was feeling embarrassed. Ki bapre, this mother is sending two dabbas now. This is very weird. So we have to come up. So now it would have had a completely reverse impact if the mother had stormed into the school and gone to the principal and said, "Hey, what is going on? My daughter's dabba is being eaten by this girl. Punish her, take her out of school, suspend her." That one was also a child, no? So we have to come up with creative solutions to let the bully know how they are impacting the other child so that you're able to stop that behavior in its tracks. Because when you stop that behavior in its tracks earlier, hopefully, as they get older, this internet bullying will not be as big of an issue. With internet bullying now, these bullies are faceless, and a lot of celebrities and a lot of people who are being bullied. If you put yourself out there on social media, you are opening yourself up to trolls. So you have to build a thick skin. And again, it's the conversations in childhood with your parents that help you become resilient and become thick skinned so that you don't allow an outsider to build your sense of self worth. You build your self worth by yourself. Don't allow someone else to build it. Don't allow someone's judgment to deteriorate your sense of self worth. Don't allow someone's uh, niceness or kindness or whatever, what's it called? Praise to put you over the moon. Be balanced in the middle and say, I build my own self worth. Again, parents, conversations. That's all we have to come back to.
That was so nice, Deepma. I truly agree to each and every line you said. And this is so insightful. This is so like a lot of eye opening has been done by you. And I'm so grateful I'm here right now with you in this space. I want to know just
Thank
one
you.
thing. Um,
Hmm.
that Do you have any possible solutions for cyberbullying? Like this one thing you described was about children getting bullied
Hmm.
offline. But what about online? If somebody is getting bullied, what are the possible solutions you suggest? What one should do? The, like, what is the mentality
Wow.
when the bullier gets?
Correct. There aren't too many very clear solutions. One of them, obviously, is reporting the bully, especially if it is becoming threatening. Their accounts can be suspended. They can be taken off of that whatever social media is there. But uh, you know, uh, small little things, a small little uh, I don't know, just kind of that prick at your sense of self worth, that prick at your sense of whatever it is that you have posted. If there is threat, and if there is especially if there's physical threats, the person can even be arrested. But if there is these other smaller little infractions, I think once again it comes back down to the child coming to you and saying, "Mom, I'm feeling very uncomfortable. This is what is going on." And then you tackle it together. So it could be, if it is a known person, it could be talking to that person's parents, it could be talking to that person's, principals, teachers, whatever in the school. Um, it could be reporting them and getting their accounts suspended. It could be blocking them. But for all of those things, you as a parent have to be involved in your child's life. You as a young adult, if you're a young adult and you're facing bullying, then you have to go within and start doing your inner work, start doing building up your self-worth and your self-esteem. Maybe stop going on social media as much, and constantly having the affirmation to yourself that others do not determine who I am. I determine who I am. And for that, there's a whole bunch of inner work exercises that we do to help young adults come out of that and uh, to stop that negative self talk and get into a positive self talk, where then other people's opinions and other people's stupid comments are not going to matter to you. but there's no real solution in that. What's the point? If you go respond to them, they're going to realize that they won, right? So we have to take each comment individually, and then if it is a threatening comment, we have to obviously deal with it very, very seriously. If it is small little comments, you just say block that person, don't let that person come on your social media, or you talk to the person themselves, or their the adults, if it's a child, if a child is involved. So those are the three solutions that I can think of off the top of my head.
Hello, good evening, Deepma.
Yeah.
Deepma, my question is related to parenting thing only.
Mm.
Do you identify, do you feel that there is a bullying nature by the parents as well? There is a passive aggressive behavior by the parents also. How it is affecting the child and how to handle such problems in the family?
That's a very good question, actually, because there is. And sometimes there is that fine line between disciplining and bullying, and there is a fine line between assertive and passive aggression, right? And we don't know what exactly that is, so it has to be situation wise. We have to take it according to the situation. But yes, there is short answer. Yes, there sometimes is bullying by the parents, and again, if we become aware of it, if we become more and more, as parents, if we become more and more mindful of it, we will be able to get out of it. And the way to get out of it is through conversations with our children, where they are allowed to express their feelings to us. Mama, I'm feeling like you're bullying me. Mama, I'm feeling like you're pushing me into this situation just because you think it's right. Can you hear me out? Can you hear my logic out? Can I talk to you about this? Can we discuss this a little further? Can mama and daddy and children all sit together and discuss this a little further to see, quote unquote, what's right and wrong? Sometimes what happens is egos get involved, and because egos get involved, it's like, Are, I could never back answer my parents. You better listen to me because I said so. You have to do it my way or the highway. Those are things that are changing a little bit, because our children are also um, becoming more and more aware of the society and of the world around them. And so, younger and younger, they are questioning our belief systems, our value systems, our way of doing things. So, if we come out in the open and are trying to be a little bit more vulnerable with them, and a little bit more accepting कि हाँ भैया अपना, अभी आपका हमारा जनरेशन डिफरेंट था, आपका जनरेशन डिफरेंट है, चलो लेट्स रीच अ solution that is amicable for both. Again, conversations, again, open ended conversations where both parties are willing to listen. One of the biggest problems with communication is that we think communication is all about talking, all about nonverbal communication, and all about writing. But we forget the fourth very important component of communication, and that's listening. I, you know, we tell our little kids, but we forget it ourselves. Ki God gave us 2 ears and one mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we can speak. So it's important to listen.
Yeah, thank you, Deepma. And I want to ask you some more questions on this. If this problem increases with the time as the kid grow in age,
Hmm.
and then we land up in a situation, when there is a miscommunication or almost no communication between the kids and the parents, which further leads to, it has got its own cascading effect on the relationship. Why I'm saying, because I myself do some sort of psychological counseling and consultancy, so I'm finding a lot of cases in this field. I'm getting a lot of input. I mean, I'm having that feeling that this problem is persisting in the society and it is on the rise now these days. So there is a miscommunication or almost no communication between the parents and the children, and it is further creating a lot of ruckus in the society and in the families. How to control it, I mean, at a right time, so that these issues are not there, and it further aggravates to a level when there are two kids, there are siblings, there are issues between the siblings just because parents have their own choices and their own picks in the family. How do you identify with this problem? Does it exist? What are the possible solutions? Would like to educate the audience on this.
Great
Happy.
question.
Yeah. So, happy sir, we have actually taken this question, but again, if Deepma ma'am wants to answer this,
I'll
so yeah, go ahead, ma'am. Yeah.
I'll just go ahead and give a very short answer. It starts with communication, but sir, I'm also very grateful to people that people like you not only exist, but that parents and children are choosing to come to you and talk about these problems to you, and you are able to counsel them and you are able to give them therapy and help them come out of these problems. Once kids get a little older, obviously it gets harder, but I go back to my original concept where if you build a relationship with your children through conversations right from a very young age, you should be able to hopefully fingers crossed bypass these kind of issues, because they will come to you earlier on and they will know that you are a safe space for them to come and discuss these problems with. But if they are older, yes, we do need therapists, we do need counselors like yourself, and we need to take away the stigma of going to them.
Thank you so much, Dipma. And I would make my last statement here, and I'm sure people will not feel offended. Are the parenthood, are the parents or the parenthood in Indian society is holier than the thou? Is it this?
We talked about this right in the beginning. Kalyan will attest to that, where yes, we are kind of holier than thou because we could not answer back to our parents. And in our childhood, we used to do this, and in our this thing, we used to do that. But you know what? It we have to change. We have to change that, and why if we decided to say not say one sentence to our kids, I think the sentence should be when I was your age. That is the one sentence that we should avoid using ever, ever, because it has a very, very negative impact.
Thank you so much, Dipma. Thanks a lot for all the insight. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, happy sir. And yeah, DJ sir, you can go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, Kalyan, I thought you put up your hand, so I'll go after you. Yeah.
No, no, no. I would ask my question after you. So go ahead. Yeah.
So, Deepa, in fact, more than a question, okay, one of the things that just struck me is I think probably the real problem with Indian parents is not about we don't get to spend time with our children, we don't know how to do it.
Yes. Hmm.
Okay, that is the real challenge that we have. So, some of this, some of these points that we're talking about, I think more conversations are required probably, and like Kalyan pointed out earlier in the conversation, I think when, especially men, when they get together, okay, we seem to be discussing everything under the sun.
Mhm.
But I think this genuine problem of we don't know how to spend time,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I've like I'm saying like okay, I've been a little lucky in a sense that wife is a counselor. Okay, uh,
Hmm.
okay, I have been the non-disciplined guy. I am the fun daddy. Okay, because I don't
Awesome.
know. Okay, I don't know how to go about doing it, and
Huh.
so I'm like as in my kids and wife together they call me Sheldon. Okay, so that's just to give you a sense of where things are. But I think what I realized as that has helped us as a family, and this is completely Swati's doing more than mine probably, is a lot of these things we figured we discussed around movies.
Hmm.
So we used, I mean, the pandemic worked brilliantly for us. The lockdown worked brilliantly for us because we were all stuck at home. We
Hmm.
were all getting frustrated. So we started to do this every day, 9 o'clock at night. We'll all sit together and watch a film because there's nothing else you could do.
Hmm.
And it, because you had to choose between so many films and everyone came up with choices. I just realized that this was like by chance we hit it, but this discussing movies, okay, has now become like the family thing, and it's just
Yeah.
helping us break down things, so well. So
See,
just
and that's what you do is you use whatever it takes to break down barriers. And that's what I would love. I love that. And you talked about it a little bit earlier also, where you said avoidance. It's become sometimes, you know what, the uncomfortable stuff we tend to avoid. So let's try to not avoid it. जस्ट हम लोग बोल रहे हैं हमारे बच्चों को टीनेजर्स को कि भाई यू हैव टू गेट आउट ऑफ योर कंफर्ट जोन यू हैव टू गेट आउट ऑफ योर कंफर्ट जोन द 2% who is out of the comfort zone is the ones who succeed. All this gyan we give them, and then when we have to get out of our comfort zone we don't. So let's get out of our comfort zones as well. Let's discuss the uncomfortable topics. Let's talk even when we don't want to talk, and build those connections. I'm telling you, those relationships will be so much stronger if only we learn to talk. I wanted to actually to end because I just saw the time and I'm so sorry. I've yapped on for like 1.5 hours.
Uh,
Okay,
s-
when do we do this next? Kalyan,
yeah.
when do we do it again?
So yeah, it depends on ma'am. Ma'am, जब भी available है, we can do this. But ma'am, I would like to take 5 minutes of yours, and can you give us like more than five, actually 15 minutes? Like we will ask you the last question, but before we do
Sure.
that, um, we will go for a quick rapid fire round. Quick rapid fire,
Okay.
ठीक है? जस्ट फॉर अ फन क्विक रैपिड फायर राउंड। पहले तो मैं आपको ना वो इंटरनेट के स्लैंग टर्म्स कुछ पूछूंगा। सो द फर्स्ट
मर
वन
गए.
दैट आई हैव इज G2G। डू यू नो व्हाट इज G2G?
Good to great.
गॉट टू गो। इट इज गॉट टू गो।
Oh, got to go. Yes. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. My daughter's going to smack me that I
ओके,
didn't know this one.
सो व्हाट इज नेक्स्ट? सो IMO।
In my opinion.
गुड। ओके, दिस वन इज इजी, TTYL।
Talk to you later.
टॉक टू यू लेटर, यस। एंड नाउ these slangs you're gonna love. What is PAW?
I don't know.
Parents are watching. Okay.
Oh my God. Yes. That's true. Yes, yes, yes. Parents are watching. True.
And what is
Yeah,
what is P?
I myself never heard this term.
I know,
No, no,
I haven't
that's
heard
how
this.
they talk. That's how
My
they talk
colleague
on the chat.
Yamuna,
Ki don't say anything. Don't say
Hmm.
anything. Dad's behind me or whatever.
Yes, so you must be knowing this one, PITR.
Parents in the room.
Yes. What about PBB?
To be decided.
Parents behind back.
Oh, PBD. Okay. Parents behind
PBBB.
back.
Yes,
Ah,
yes,
ha, ha,
yes.
ha.
And this one
Okay,
is
okay,
fun.
okay.
What is KPC?
KPC. No something something.
No, it's keeping parents clueless. Yeah.
Kalyan, I have
God.
learned more from you in the last 5 minutes than I learned in the whole day today, man.
I know. This is like giving me anxiety.
मुझे तो ऐसा लग रहा है मुझे जनरेशन गैप हो रहा है, अब मैं जेनजी की भी नहीं हूँ और अब मैं ऊपर वाले जनरेशन की भी नहीं हूँ, आई नो नथिंग।
So these are
Lovely,
the slangs
lovely
that are
ones. I
used.
must make a note of this.
Okay, so just quick questions, and I will also ask DJ sir, Shruti, Richa, and Happy sir as well. So first question is, what has been your favorite age so far? Starting with Deepma ma'am, favorite age so far?
So, favorite age of my children or mine?
Yours. So any
My
age
favorite.
that you enjoyed the most, like 16 wala age, 17, yeah, 24, whatever age, something that you enjoyed
Okay,
a lot.
I'm sorry, I'm going to age myself, but I'm 50 and fabulous. I am loving my 50s because
Yeah,
there's no tension of judgment, there's nothing.
I simply loved the answer, Deepma.
I would
I'm
like
loving my 50s, I'm telling you.
I would like to
Kalyan,
answer.
Kalyan,
Yeah,
let me go
Sure,
next,
sure.
okay? Because I think I'm
Yeah,
just tagging into this, okay?
for
Yes, sir.
that
Go
matter.
ahead.
With Deepma, 50, fabulous, okay? Lot of stress, lot of tension, but I swear to God, I think there's nothing like coming back and knowing that, okay, this is it. Okay, like I'm saying, so 50 and fabulous.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Wow,
Deepma.
love it.
Kalyan, for that matter, the best period in one's life or the golden years in a life are 42, sorry, 45 to 55. I have a detailed justification and explanation for this. I can justify it, explain it. I will not do it today. But the best time of one's life is 45 to 55. I have a logic rationale behind it. So
Got to
I,
agree with you though. Without the logic, also got to agree.
yeah, otherwise I'll make everyone agree with my. Thank you so much.
Okay. So the next question is, what is your go-to lazy dinner?
Pizza. I love pizza.
Okay, that's nice. What about you, Happy sir?
I believe I like pizza
Okay.
and of course uh, some good beverage.
Okay. हम लोग सब
Vada
लोग
pav.
एक्सपेक्ट कर रहे थे कि कुछ तो आएगा, मतलब राजमा चावल टाइप्स आएगा, बट आपने लोगों को तो शॉक कर दिया पिज्जा बोल के. What
Vada
about
pav,
you,
vada
DJ
pav.
sir?
See,
Vada pav.
yeah, at my
Vada
place
pav.
I'm having pizza and Glenlivet today. That's I said. Can't give.
Lucky you.
Okay, Shruti, what about you?
For me, I don't have anything like that. My food is very boring. I eat oats and quinoa and sauteed veggies. So
Okay. What about you, Richa? Is your dinner
Drink
also very
water,
boring?
drink water and sleep. Make Maggie. I
Ah,
I am very lazy to cook, to be very honest.
yes.
Either make Maggie or sleep.
Okay. And the last question I'll ask: what is the stupidest dare you have ever agreed to? Right. So this is gonna be a fun one. Starting with, let's go with Richa first. So Richa, stupidest dare that you ever agreed to?
Okay, this might uncomfortable some people here. Uh, so one friend of mine asked me to kiss another friend as a dare. We were playing truth and dare that way. So yeah, I did not agree to it though. I said no, I'm not playing.
So नहीं हुआ ना dare फिर. It was
हाँ तो
okay.
आई डोंट प्ले ना तो आई एम वेरी दैट वेज कि अरे मैं तो करके बताऊंगी ऐसे कैसे पर देन फिर उसके बाद मैंने कहा मेरे को खेलना ही नहीं है ऐसे तो चीटिंग हो गई अरे ऐसे चीटिंग तो लगी तो मैं नहीं खेलूंगा यार वो डायलॉग आ गया फिर
Okay. What about you, Shruti?
for me, it was I was in college and I was along with my college friends and I had to go and dance in front of a lot of people. There was this food court in a mall and I have to stand on the top of the stage like unannounced and just I have to announce and start dancing. That was something I had to do, which was very embarrassing at that point of time, but I did it.
And गाना कौन सा था?
गाना नहीं था, देयर वाज़ नो म्यूजिक, इट वाज़ लाइक ऐसे होता है ना, आप जब ऐसे मॉल्स या कहीं पे जाते हो, द सॉन्ग इज़ ऑलरेडी प्लेइंग एंड यू जस्ट स्टार्ट, यू हैव टू लाइक गेट एवरीबॉडीज़ अटेंशन, you have to start dancing. So I had to do it just for a minute, but that was embarrassing. But
Okay.
I had to do that.
Okay, let's go to DJ sir. DJ sir, आप बताइए कुछ.
I went and had bath in a complete stranger's house on a dare.
ये okay. ये कैसे हुआ? मतलब this is very weird. But
No, this was again college time. No, post college, when I was already started working. By the time I got back home from an outstation trip, my roommates had left the house. Okay, leaving just me and another colleague of mine who was in the opposite building. Okay, to decide to get to office. So his thing was, listen, we have to get to office. I dare you. Okay, walk into your neighbor's house and say you want to go have a bath. I did exactly that. I think by the time I finished having a bath, she had made a cup of tea for me. I had breakfast with her and left.
nice, smooth DJ sir, smooth. That's great. So let's go to Happy sir. Happy sir, आप बताइए.
I think I'll pass this question.
नहीं नहीं सर बताइए, ये तो जानना पड़ेगा कुछ भी. नेक्स्ट बेस्ट थिंग बता दीजिए.
Okay, I am into writing also since my school days and college days. So I was from the college times I was writing shero shairi and poetry a lot. So like I shared a poem with my girlfriend and I told her, okay, this is for you, right? And one fine day, she could get caught, catch hold of my diary, you know. And I had generally, I have a habit of writing the date and place and the mood with which I wrote this particular poem. So with that diary, she could identify that this poem was written 3 4 years back when I shared with her. So see, this bluff was caught that I did not write it for her, but I somehow, attributed that to her. So that was one incident, which I still remember was quite funny.
And also futuristic, to be honest. Okay, let's go to Deepma ma'am. Yes ma'am, आपकी.
Damn, I was hoping you would forget me.
No, no, how can I forget you?
um, Actually, mine was about 10 years ago, I think, when my daughter and my son, both of them ganged up on me and said that we had gone out for a vacation, and they said that I had to buy and wear a mini skirt for one of our trips. And speaking of all this body image issues and all, I have my own share of body image issues. So I was just like, I can't. And they said, you're not allowed to say you can't. You keep telling us to have confidence and not worry about what others think. So we have to go. And then their dad also got involved, and we went and we bought a, a really short mini skirt, and I wore it for the entire day. And I think that was the most embarrassing time of my life.
Okay.
Hi, Kalyan, Deepma, I would take your leave. I have to take some important official calls. Thank you so much.
Sure, sure, sure. Thank you so
Yeah.
much,
Bye.
sir.
Take care. Have a
Bye.
good day.
Sure, Chief.
I
Okay.
I think, yeah, I think we are also pretty much done with what we wanted to talk about. I just wanted to say one thing to end, if that's okay.
Sure, sure, ma'am. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I keep talking the entire 1.5 hours. This entire 1.5 hours, I've been talking about talking, right? I've been talking about having conversations and talking to your kids and constantly having talks. So I decided to come up with an acronym for the word talk, TALK, and that if that's one thing that we can take away from this conversation, I would be very happy and very grateful. So the T stands for team, where I say you and your spouse should be a team together. And I think it was DJ who talked about where the husband has a different role to play and the wife has a different role to play. And instead of that, if we could have them be a team, and even you and your family sorting out problems together, where children become part of the problem solving process. A stands for adhere. I said adhere to your own rules. We talked about this earlier, right? And so I just kind of brought it all together. I said adhere to your own rules and be a role model. Walk the talk. If you're telling them not to be on their device, you don't be on your device. And yet have a sense of humor about it. When mistakes happen, when failures happen, like DJ said, go ahead and accept them and say, tomorrow, today is never coming back again, let's start over tomorrow. The I said would be love. And for that, I mean self love. First, love yourself. Show your children that it is possible for you to love yourself and for them to love themselves first and then love each other. So I think self love is an important, very, very important skill that we need to pass on to our children. The explanation is, when you're in an aircraft and the flight attendant is telling you about the safety features, they tell you, right, put your own mask on first. That's the only way you're going to be able to help others. You can never pour from an empty cup. So love yourself. And then the K stands for kindness. So be kind, be empathetic, be open when your children are coming and talking to you, instead of being judgmental or being distracted or being stressed out about things, or always being willing to talk down to them, or be uh, uh, being unkind to them, being not taking their feelings into consideration. We often feel that we often don't realize that children are little humans too, and they are absorbing everything that we are saying to them and of them. So be kind. So that's my acronym for the day today. Talk, TALK.
Amazing. We will definitely remember this, and I believe it was very new thing we all learned today. So thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us today. We have some comments in the comment section, so we will take the positive ones. Riaz is saying, even as a teenager, this was highly informative for me. Thank you, ma'am, and great work.
I
So
appreciate that.
yeah. Also, we had a great time hosting this space, so we are already ahead of our time and we should keep it short now. So, thank you so much, everybody. Everybody was there, and to all the speakers and all the listeners for being such an amazing, engaged audience. And thank you so much, Deepma ma'am. You summed it up. All our questions and the discussions were very informative and amazing. And definitely, it will help us a lot in the coming times. And everybody who have heard this conversation, it was very impressive. The kind of detail and insight, again, I would like to say, you bring to the discussion and bringing new perspective. It made it amazing. So I would
The
like to thank
pleasure
you.
was all mine. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Also, Kalyan and Richa, would you like to add something?
Of course, the space was great. I mean, I was so excited to have the space, and now that it is done, I feel like keep on talking to you, Deepma. I'm like, how do you bring this
Very true.
positivity? I don't want to end the space, but then we have this thing to end it. But then you bring a lot of positivity. Here's this compliment from my side to you. You make everyone very comfortable. This is one quality I want to learn from you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Kalyan, for bringing Deepma to the space. And I was it was a great space. I loved it.
It was
Thanks a lot,
very
guys.
truly outstanding. Thank you so much, Deepa.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much. And I remember हमारा जब पहला कॉल हुआ था दीपमा मैम ऋचा और श्रुति का हम तीनों were very much in love with दीपमा मैम and the insights he provided. हम लोग ऑलमोस्ट ऑन द वर्ज ऑफ क्राइंग थे लाइक हम लोग अपनी क्वेश्चंस की बात कर रहे थे एंड वी वर लाइक हमारे इश्यूज के बारे में बता रहे थे सो वेरी
Same.
आई स्टिल रिमेंबर दैट वाज वन ऑफ द बेस्ट कॉल दैट वी हैड एंड वी लव्ड इट एंड वी लव यू मैम थैंक यू सो मच फॉर being there
God,
and
now you're going to make me cry. Please.
yeah it's a
Thank
written
you. The
thing
pleasure
yeah
was
Actually,
mine.
actually, the way you break down all our complex questions and the concepts, and you made it very easy to understand. So it is just amazing.
yes
Thank you.
and thank
I
you so
really
much
want
DJ
part
sir as
two.
well yeah
I
Richa
really
go ahead.
want, yeah, I really want part two of the space. I
I
mean,
second that.
really, really, really.
Okay.
Sure we will
Let's
have the
talk.
part
Yeah.
two. Yeah, and thank you so much DJ sir as well and आपने बहुत insightful चीजें बताई and I always love when you talk about your bond with your family especially with your wife. This
Same.
is something which is very something that we can all learn from and ये बहुत ही अच्छा लगता है हमें whenever you share things like that. It's very insightful to be honest.
यार एक बार रिकॉर्ड करके भेज दो. I should show it to her also.
Absolutely sir, ये तो recorded वाला ही है मैं आपको भेजूंगा.
Recorded, yes, for sure.
Hey, thank you so much. And Deepma, we have a pending discussion. Okay, we are going to connect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Happy to do that. Send me a message, DJ. I'd love to talk to you further.
Perfect. Shall do that. I have just kind of followed you on Twitter already, and
Okay.
then I don't know how else to get in touch. So if I
Okay.
get stuck, Kalyan will pay.
Sure. I can help
100%.
you.
100%. 100%.
Looking forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
guys. You all have been very complimentary. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So,
Okay.
with this, we will end the space in 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks all to the listeners. Thank
Good
you.
night, everyone.
Good night. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to us. And if you want to participate in live spaces, just follow our Twitter handles. हम ऐसे spaces हर हफ्ते करते हैं and अगर आपको ये पसंद आया तो follow करना हमको and share this podcast. Thank you so much and see you next week. Bye bye.